here. Can we put our hands together for him? Come and celebrate him, celebrate him. So he's the one actually anchoring the event, so I leave it to him to take over. Yes. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Sir Dr. Stephen Akintayo. It's been amazing just connecting with you. And we're very excited. We're proud of you. I mean, the diasporans are very excited for the work you're doing.
Thank
And not just the work you're doing, the fact that also you're reaching out to diasporans in the United States, in Dubai, in the UK, and now you are, planning to do more things not only in Nigeria but across Africa, showing the Pan African spirit. And just the last time we had a conversation and hearing your plan, your big plan for the rest of Africa, there couldn't be any better person to have this conversation today than to talk with you. So
thank you.
we celebrate you, sir, and we are so proud of the great and amazing work that you're doing. And today we wanted more of our community, which we believe will be a continual conversation, to know who is Dr. Stephen Akintoye. I mean, I have followed you over time. We have met in Dubai, and I thank you for signing your new book, The Billionaire Code,
Yes.
that he received from you. And so it's been amazing just reading and understanding your mindset and the concept behind all that you're doing. And I know that there are a few things that you're in agriculture, you are also in e-commerce, and you're big time in real estate. And so we're very happy today to have this conversation with you, and to see that people will understand more about who Dr. Stephen Akintoye is. So I will start by asking, maybe just tell us, who is Stephen Akinte? How did that name come about, and who is he? What's going on?
Well, thank you for coming. Or is this for hosting me? I don't know which one now. For hosting me, Dr. Kalu from African Sixth Region. Um, and it's wonderful connecting with you in Dubai last year. Was it 2 years ago? And then, we're connecting again with your team and wonderful work you guys are doing. I really, really think that the African Union Sixth Region is a powerful movement. I hope that more people get to know about it, because even me, I'm shocked that I'm just hearing about it. But the vision is robust and it's beautiful, and it's really beautiful. I'm excited to be working with you guys to see how we can do bigger, things together. I'm Stephen Akintayo. I'm an author. I've authored 40 books. I'm a speaker. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm the chairman, founder of GTEX Holdings. So we're into real estate. Is like the biggest thing we're known for. But we're into other sectors as well: e-commerce, logistics, agriculture, software development, consulting, and so on and so forth. We're in Nigeria, many cities in Nigeria, Dubai, US, and in the UK. And in October, we're launching our African Fund for Real Estate. We're entering Ghana next year, Kenya, Uganda, and Zambia. And we're hoping that we do a lot of great stuff together. Though you guys want to bring me to Cameroon too, so let's see how it goes. So we might start with 5 African countries instead of 4 that we initially planned. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be great. Cameroon is ready for you. Uganda is ready for you. We're gonna have more conversation around that, because we've
Yeah.
got some stuff that I think we can do around that. So that's really wonderful. Just hearing this amazing work you're doing, and like I mentioned earlier, the Pan African spirit that you have. That people need to understand that we are one people. We are first African before any other thing. And so just always hearing, and that's the part of the thing that I wanted people to understand, that this continent the freedom we enjoy and celebrate today came as a result of our diasporans. We had, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Julius Nyerere, the Awolowos, the Nnamdi Azikiwes, and so many of them went to the UK. They studied, and when they came back, they decided to engage, once again, the colonial masters in the aspect of the independence that we talk about today across Africa. And so diasporans had been the pillar and the foundation of where we are today as a continent, and what people might consider as a freedom. So it's been a journey that is our forefathers, that the continental freedom as of the aspect of independence came as a result of the diaspora movement. That
Right.
these individuals went outside, they studied, they came back, and they decided to meet together in Addis Ababa with the then Emperor Haile Selassie and discuss about how their first plan would be, how do we negotiate our freedom as a continent and get rid of the colonial system. And that's how the whole of the OAU, Organization of African Unity, came about into the African Union. And today we have what we have as a continent, 60 years and still going strong. So to have you also in that line thinking about what it means to be African, that you're not thinking just about Nigeria, about one region, but you're thinking about the whole Africa. That's really wonderful. So having said that, how long have you been in business? I mean, how long now, and when, and what inspired what you're doing? I mean, you've told us about the companies and different things, software development and e-commerce, agriculture, real estate. What inspired that, and how long have you been in business?
Okay, well, I've been in business from the age of 18, actually. I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that turned my life around. My first business was a multi-level marketing business.
Mm.
I was selling food supplement. I was a very shy, timid young man, and I remember I will hold the supplement. I'm trying to market someone, and I'll be looking this way, and I'll be saying, "This thing is good. You need to buy it. It's good for you." But I continued, and 15 years ago, we then registered our company. Then we had a book. We used to organize trade fair, and I sell books. I sell popcorn that time as well. I was selling, e-books as well. And then I had the bulk SMS business as well. And of course, the bulk SMS business happened to then become what, stayed. We added email marketing to it. We added social media marketing. By 2015, we're a household name when it comes to bulk SMS. We had become a major digital marketing firm. We had many clients: Chivita, PZ, GT Bank, many big companies. Even politically, we had a lot. All the political parties were clients as well. And so at that point, that was the same year, 2015, that I decided to diversify into real estate when I visited Silicon Valley, and I saw how, what I saw in Silicon Valley was really shocking, because I saw how big all the tech companies were when it comes to real estate. How Amazon, where Amazon is, for example, is the only place in the world, there may be other few places, but the major one, where people have a job, but they are homeless, right? And because of Amazon, it was ridiculous in terms of cost of housing. So you can have a job, but what you are earning cannot even afford you to rent a property, a house. In this Seattle, where the Amazon headquarters is. I read how the mayor of Silicon Valley, St. John's, was also complaining how rental real estate generally went up because of the presence of Google, Facebook, Apple in that axis, and that if I left to them, they prefer they go, because their presence had just made everything go up. And so it dawned on me that these tech guys are really, yeah, it's a massive real estate behind this whole thing. And I made up my mind I was coming back to do that and to also solve some of the challenges there, which had to do with trust. And so we're the first to start real estate in Nigeria, and we were streaming social media, the property we're selling. We're the first to start allocating land to people in diaspora on Zoom. And I think I'm answering maybe some of the questions you probably will have in future in terms of what we bring in that's unique. We're the first to also partner with DHL to deliver people's document to them anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Without any extra charges, so that you remove the issue of third parties who are oftentimes, because the way land works in Africa, whoever has the original title, which you call deed of assignment, because that's the deed of assignment is the legal document that transfer ownership. And people are ignorant. People think C of O. C of O is usually giving over a large portion of land. So by law, what transfer ownership to you is not a C of O. It is the deed of assignment. This is also another thing most people don't know in diaspora. So whoever has that deed of assignment, okay, in Africa, can sell the land. Because when I'm trying to buy from you, what's important to me is where's the deed that shows that the property moved from one party to the other. And if you have the original, that document, I'm willing to consummate the transaction. So we've seen situations where people have been family members, and because they had the document, they just went and sold the property, and that's it. So we said no, we will have to create a system where people get their documents, even if they are not in the country, and the document can be shipped to them anywhere in the world, and that helped them to keep their property, and there's no third party who is scamming them in that process. So there's a lot of innovation we brought into the in the industry, and it has helped in a great way.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. It's just a few couple of things you just really said there. I mean, the deed of assignment, which, like you mentioned, not a lot of people talk about CFO, CFO, as if it's the most important document until
Yeah,
now when you talk about that, and not understanding that, what should be more concerned about is the deed of assignment. You could be
exactly,
sleeping with the CFO and your land is sold when somebody
exactly.
so it's really interesting that, and I think that's why these kind of sessions are very important, that people have an understanding what they're doing and all that. And I think leading to even what I wanted to ask you, I think you mentioned some of them. Maybe they're intentional, maybe intentionally there are other areas that, because my other question or conversation would be, what are the solutions that you have brought in your industry?
Yeah, I think
Generally.
I've answered that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there are other things that, I know you were saying that in passing based on the first question, but are they intentional answers to that, to say, here, one, two, three key things that I've brought in the industry that has helped the
Yeah.
industry to move forward? Because people like to learn and copy what it works. So I guess there are things that you started and started working. Now it looks like normal,
Yeah.
in Africa, because you were doing it and
Yeah.
it was working, and now so many people are now seeing it, and
Exactly.
yeah. So
Well,
so
a few more was, or is the fact that we're the first to start the concept of building green and smart home in Africa. So what we typically used to have is either people were building green home, in other words, they're trying to use renewable energy, and that's also another confusion. Whenever we say green and smart, people are thinking of flowers and trees. So green means renewable energy. So usually we had other companies who were either doing renewable energy, or we had companies who were trying to do smart home, but we were the first to combine both and to have if our vision is to be the largest in the world by the year 2035, hoping that we will have delivered 25,000 by that time. And that hopefully will make us the largest developer of green and smart home across the globe. And for that's also one. And today, of course, a lot of other people are attempting to do the same. We're also the first to start a fractional real estate investment using the cooperative model, using a digital cooperative model. So which is what we're also trying to launch in October, to use that to then we're trying to raise $100 million to expand to other African countries using that same model. What's fractional real estate investment? It just simply means that instead of one person owning a house, 20 people can own the house together. And the 20 people then share the returns on investment. But for that to work, you need what we call prop tech, in other words, property technology. And so we're the first to then have a mobile app where you can download the GVest mobile app even today, sign up, and become a member of the cooperative. And you can say, hey, I want to buy a house, but I don't have all the money. And, you can gradually have 20 of you, 10 of you come together, and you have one, and you share the rental income. Another part with the app is also that some people say, I want to save towards a land. But if I leave the money in my account, I end up spending it. So you have that contribution, saving it on the app towards your property. You also have the option of saying, no, I don't care what you do with the money. I just want a regular return on investment, on a yearly basis or on a particular basis. So we have that option as well. So we're the first to have an app that is creating that opportunity. We haven't pushed it very well yet, and we're going to start a countrywide, campaign about it. And of course, when we launch in Africa as well, we're hoping to push it across other Africa, because it's just a beautiful model that will help more people to access real estate, which is difficult. People talk about affordability, and I've said over and over again, that is in the hands of government. So the affordability of real estate in Africa is really in the hands of government, because cost of land is, most lands, particularly in Nigeria, the law says the governor owns the land. And in fact, the governor has the right to come and take over your own land.
Wow.
Yes, that's how powerful the governor is by Nigerian law. And many African countries are that way as well. So in reality, to bring down that price is the governor that can do that. I say, you know what? You're a developer. I'm giving you X number of, land. I'm giving you the C of O, and I'm demanding that you don't charge for that land, right? Just build the house, add a little on top, not more than, let's say, 20% or 25%, so that it can be affordable. And then you go ahead. Now, when that happens, then it's a lot easier to start having affordable housing, because government has provided the land and is partnering with the developer. But once that is not there, the other option you have is what I call accessible, real estate, which is what you see even in Canada, in the US. It's not really affordable, because by the time you convert the house of $450,000, either in the US or in Canadian dollars, which is the average pricing, when you convert it to African money, you will use that same money to buy 4 of that same property that you're buying 1 in Canada, right? But why are more people able to buy property in Canada? Because they don't need to raise $450,000, right? They can pay 5% in the UK if that's the first time they're buying property. They have a program called the first time home buyers. In the US, you probably have between 10 to 20%. that of that amount they are dropping. So practically, I can drop a $70,000 to $100,000 and then go home with a property worth, 450. In some cases, I can drop $100,000 and walk away with a property worth $1,000,000, right? So they've made real estate accessible that way, because now I have 30 years to pay the balance, and I can get the key to the house and I can move in, and I can even withdraw equity. Can you imagine? What I've not even finished paying, I already have equity line of credit, So these are the opportunities that we are hoping that will over time develop, and we've started for us with the accessible. So I can go on and on, but I think I'll stop there.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I mean, like you said, I mean, it's quite impressive. So many things that you've brought in the industry, and I think it'd be great to promote it a little bit more further. So that more people get to know about it and tap into that, because it's really amazing through just an app, and also the opportunities of getting into the industry or into the real estate, not necessarily having all the money, or having a full partnership which is being managed. You don't really need to do that. Bring the people, and your system through that will manage that process for the whole team. So that it's not like, okay, you're giving it to one person and all that, but your company will do all that process.
Yeah.
And also return on investment, they all get their money, their air shares. So I think that's amazing. And I think if more people, because one of the things I always tell people, it is not the money that you save that make you money. It is the money you invest that make you money, right? It's not saving money. It's investing money, allowing money to work for you, not you working for money. So it's really amazing. Some of these, plan and strategies that you brought on the table. I think that's really wonderful. And so, having said that, if based on some of these things that you mentioned now, which are great, but in the overall, what can you tell somebody who, if he says that he wants to partner with you or he wants to invest with you? Can you overall talk about what are the opportunities? What are you offering somebody who says, "Oh, I like what I'm hearing, and I want to be, part of this project"? What are you offering them?
Well, what I would say is that they need to call our team. We have a team. We have in the real estate. We have about 4 or 5 aspects. So we have what we call the GTEX Land, is a separate subsidiary, and they strictly deal on what we call land banking. So in other words, we look at unique locations where you can get between 200% to 500% return on investment within a space of 2 to 5 years. And we buy massive land in that location. And then you can come with us to us and then buy. And then we fence the property. We have security guys on ground to make sure nobody encroaches on your property. And we keep the land for you for a few years as the value goes up. So you can decide to then come years later to say, hey, now I want to sell it, and you go ahead and sell it. Or you can say, okay, now that the place is developed, I'm going to build on it. So for some people who say, you know what, I will sell half to use to raise money to build on the remaining half of the plots. So that has been one area people have been so grateful doing business with us, because honestly, we've had cases where people invested $1,500, and today the value is now $30,000 in
Wow.
space of 4 years in one of our estates in Ibejuleki. So we've mastered that art of knowing properties that the value will keep going up. And if you look at the data about Nigeria, and I think that's part of the issue people don't know, by the year 2021, according to Washington Post, and you can Google this and do the research, Nigeria will home 4 largest cities in the world.
Nigeria.
Yes, Nigeria will home 4 large, according to Washington Post. This is not a Nigerian publication. Washington Post is a U.S. leading, newspaper. So the data show that Lagos, and here this is my site, will actually beat Manhattan, will beat Shanghai, and all these major cities of the world to become the
Mm.
largest city in the world, and will have a population of 80 million people by the year 2100. Yeah, Washington Post. So you can go do your research and read it. This is not like it's online, Google it. So what this means is that if you own 400 square meter anywhere in Lagos or is surrounding, you are naturally a billionaire in Nigerian naira,
Mm.
because there is just going to be so much scarcity of space, and people will start selling air rights like we have in Manhattan. You know, in Manhattan now there's no land to sell, so people sell air rights. So let's say I build my house and it's currently 30 story. Somebody can come to me and say, you know, I'll buy from 30 story to 70 story, right? So, and it's quite crazy because now he's going to pay me whatever I've been collecting for rent for that 30 story, for the amount of years he's going to build the new 70 story. He pays me that. So I'm not angry that I'm not getting rent. He demolished the entire thing and then built a 70 story. And based on whatever agreement we had, he can still be paying me lease on the 31st to 70, or pay me outright. Which is what they do in Manhattan. So
Wow.
imagine, because that's what's not going to happen, because people have to go up. It's 80 million people, right? And Lagos is quite small. And so, but imagine you then own land, the real floor. So it's just going to be amazing. So we have the GTEX Land, and I encourage people to reach out to the team. We're on Instagram. Just type at GTEX Land, and you can call the office as well. And then we have the GTEX Home subsidiary where we sell house. Okay, Dr. Kalu disappeared, but are we all here? Can you hear me, guys? If you can hear me, just type I can hear you. Okay, I think Dr. Kalu's network went off. I'm sure he's going to join us back soon. If you can hear me, just type I can hear you, I can hear you. Okay, so we then have the GTEX Homes, and in GTEX Homes, we sell houses. We sell houses in the UK, in the US, in Dubai. We control over 100 properties in Dubai at the moment. And then we sell in Nigeria as well. And what's unique with GTEX Homes is the fact that aside that we help you get the house, whether it was us that developed it or our partners developed it, what's unique with us is we often have people who are buying properties from us, let's say in Dubai, and they don't live in Dubai. We have people who are buying properties from us in the UK and don't live in the UK. Or they're buying properties from us in the US and they don't live in the US. And they don't even have an account. And they're doing it as an investment so that they can get a rental income. Now, the beauty with us is that we handle all of that for you. We help you get a tenant to your property. We take the rent and we send the rent to you anywhere you are in the world, right? And we've done this for many, many of our clients in Dubai and some other places. In Nigeria, we're the major developer, and the same thing we help people in Nigeria as well. So people who are investing with us off plan, of course, you pay us, then we build. We make sure we help you look for, if you want us to do that, we help you look for tenants. The tenant pay the rent and we remit your money into your account. So you don't need to have that headache of, you know what, my lawyer is collecting my tenant money and it's not paying, or my cousin, or even the tenant did not pay. Because sometimes when you are directly dealing with the tenants, it makes them take advantage of you. Now they are calling you, please help me, The rent is due, but I don't have money. I lost my job. And we've had several Africans who complain that one of the reasons why they don't invest back at home is that they don't get their rental income because the tenant just keep begging them and wouldn't pay. But the advantage of a third party managing that relationship is that there's no sentiment. The third party even earns a portion of what the tenant is paying. So,
Mm.
you know, you just have to pay the rent, else you are kicked out. So it helps immune you, the investor, from just losing money from tenants that just don't pay the rent, and the law can apply. So that's for the housing project, and that you can do with us anywhere in the world. And then we have the investment project, which is the GVest. You can download the GVest app on Android, iOS, and become a member, and then you can invest with us, and then you get returns. We go ahead and do business with your money, and then you get regular returns. And we've not defaulted even during COVID. People still got their money, and I think that's part of the edge that we have. Of course, you have customer care issues. There's no way you have thousands of
Mm.
clients and maybe somebody doesn't feel happy, but we've done our best to make sure people who give us their money for investment and they expect a return, they get their returns, and that's very important. The only issue you can hear is maybe somebody who bought land and then is expecting us to refund them. And technically, that's quite difficult because once we give you your land, the transaction is supposed to have ended, right? If you want to resell the land, go look for who will buy it and sell. But you see, sometimes people then demanding that, oh, I bought it from you, you have to be the one to just refund me back. So, of course, in that case, you have to wait for us to look for a new buyer, and then before we can then say we're refunding you, right? So that's basically it for now. We also have what we call GTech Suit. That's the fourth aspect of our business, and that subsidiary focus more on secondary markets. So houses that are ready to move in, you pay your money, you move in. We focus on that, and then we worked with landlords who feel that what, this whole long lease isn't working. Getting somebody to lease my house for 1 year, I'm not even sure I'm getting good value. So we partner with some of those landlords to start a short let. We will bring our money to furnish the property, and people start renting it on a daily basis, weekly basis, which has shown that the income from that is more than 500% higher than the long lease. And what we then do is a system where we then share the money that comes in as people, rent the property. But we handle all the process of listing the property on platform like Airbnb, Travel.ng, all those platforms, and make sure we run the property. We even furnish it, day-to-day operations, and you even get a lot more than if you had to have done a long lease. So we do that as well with landlords. So if you buy the property from us ready to move in and you want us to manage it, we manage it. Or you didn't even buy the property from us, you've owned it for a while, but you're not getting good value. You can partner with GTech Suits, and they help you to do that, aspect of, shortlist. Yes. Welcome back, by the way, Dr. Kalu.
Thank you. Sometimes technology can be quite interesting, but yeah. So I'm glad to be here. Yeah, that's thank you once again. It's really amazing. And for those joining us, just afresh, just to let you understand that we're having a conversation with Dr. Stephen Akinte, who is it's an entrepreneur in the highest order. And so there's a lot of good things that are happening that we wanted to learn more about who this Dr. Stephen Akintayo is, and what is behind the success story, through the process. But so, and this is, me, myself, Macaulay Carlo, representing the African Union Sixth Region, which is the global diaspora of the continent of Africa, of all people of African descent. So even if you have 1% of Africa in you, you're an African. Life began in Africa. We're all Africans, and so the storyline has changed and it's getting better. Africa is known to be the next frontier. I find it interesting when sometimes when we talk about Africa, uh, well, it sounds good. A lot of people want to travel outside of Africa, but whenever I travel a lot. And when you're in a business class, you find that, oh, the Chinese are there, the Japanese are there, the Indians are there, the Europeans are there. Every other person is coming on their way to Africa, where Africans are all on their way outside of Africa.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm like, when you're in this business class, you're wondering, what are all these people going to? What are they finding that everybody's going into Africa?
Yeah.
And so it's a question that we need to ask ourselves. What are we not doing right? How can we collaborate more, even among ourselves? Some of the things that I tell young people when they're in the university, when I go to speak at some university and campuses, and said, the best thing you can do for yourself is to learn how to build partnership, even when you're in school. That when you're coming out, you can start up a company together and begin to build money that you can also invest together. Because when you have the idea of coming out to try to look for job and all that stuff and it doesn't happen, you get frustrated. And
Very
you
true.
forget that all the job that you're trying to find, somebody created that job
Yeah.
that you're going to try to step into. So what
Mm.
stops you for doing something to create one yourself?
Very
you
true.
know and so building partnership from the onset helps a lot, and that's what is affecting us from Africa, because here in Africa a lot of people want to own everything themselves. I'm the CEO, I'm everything.
Yeah.
Whether anything is happening or not, they can't even eat food or whatever. They have a business card, they're CEO, and they're talking about their company, and they don't understand what it means to set up a company,
Yeah.
partnership, shareholding, and all that. What can you speak to that, Dr. Kinte? What is partnership, and what is the best way in setting up a company? I want to believe that you have shares that you've sold, you have partners and all that. How is that working? What is your advice?
Well, funny enough, I haven't sold any shares, but we've given employees shares
Okay.
of the company before. And however, what I will say is, and I say this often, that some of us, if we had had the opportunity to have started at the level we're at today, we probably would have gone into a lot of partnership because it was harder to go alone. And the reason we didn't even get partners was we didn't look like we were going to make it. So nobody was willing to partner with us. And I remember meeting somebody that went to school together today, and she was almost crying. And at some point I said an adage that there's a Yoruba word that Olorun go follow me. In other words, God gave glory to the lazy me. And she corrected her and said that's not true. God gave glory to the hardworking you. We have known you since campus days. You were a whole lot hardworking. And if only we knew you were going to make it. And then she did a video call to another colleague, and I want to say we knew how you used to disturb us then. And we just felt yours was too much. Like, leave us alone. But we're happy all has worked out here today. So left to me, I would have loved as much partnership, but people didn't even believe we had anything that was going to work. And so nobody was willing to partner. But now I think partnership concept is more known. Most tech companies are now, two co-founders, three co-founders, and
Yeah.
a lot of technology to help manage that as well. My advice, however, is when you're going to partnership, make sure it is written in paper. I think where people miss it is, oh, it's my brother, oh, it's my best friend, and there is no legal document. I watched how Amazon started, and that's Jeff Bezos. And he went to his parents. In fact, the dad and the mom, it was so emotional when they took all their savings, that was their retirement money, and gave it to him when he was particular about starting this Amazon thing. And then there was now one of the top engineers that was working with him. He spoke to the guy about the idea. And you know how people can be so arrogant, like, well, I'm the only one. It's obvious I'm the only one that agreed to even work on your idea. Nobody believes what you're trying to do makes sense. And of course, he mentioned how much he was going to charge the negotiator, and they agreed. And here's the funny thing. I think a day to the day of launching the site, when it now looked obvious that this thing was going to work, right? The guy was then asking Jeff why he didn't give him equity. And Jeff Bezos said, you know what's funny? You never ask. So, and that's how the guy lost out. That's how he lost out. Because if the guy had asked to say, okay, yeah, I want this money plus an equity, according to Jeff Bezos, he was willing to give the guy. But you know how people just are happy to just take your money and just move on, because they don't even believe what you're trying to do. But you say ask them to do it, but so they're going to do it and move on. So it's a big lesson. And the similar thing happened with several other founders as well. And I think one of the first thing that needs to happen to us as Africans is to begin to take more risk, because that's the biggest problem. And that's why the partnership isn't happening. I shared a picture of when I took my former employees to our first estate. Now, this was us that were doing very well with digital marketing. And I came back from a trip, told them we're starting estate. From the picture, you could see all of them were looking at me like I was insane. And none of them remain in the company today.
Wow.
But it was when I was looking at the picture that it was now obvious to me why, of course, they wouldn't have stayed. Because they felt I was just crazy. Like, who does this? This guy, I'm sure in their mind, this guy was going to go down. Like, you're doing well what you're doing. Why try to go into another sector you're new? And then the land was marshy land. It was thick forest. Even the picture, you see how it was thick forest. And then, like, who will buy this? So I think that's the problem. Because imagine those who will have been there and then they stayed all through. Even if I will have given them, of course, shares in the company, like I gave some, I will have definitely, they will own some of those lands today without even paying much, probably deduction from their salary or their commission will have gone into that. But they definitely will have been multi-millionaires today. And the reason why they are not is not because I wasn't willing, but it was because they didn't even believe in the vision. The risk was too much. And so for me, my advice would be for partnership to work, we the people must begin to believe in the concept of taking risk when it comes to entrepreneurship. And that is okay. It's okay to fail. And it's just one of those processes. I look back and we're having this conversation with a friend of mine who is a senior mentor. And he was sharing with me, he said, why, was talking about what's your secret? He was just saying, I'm proud of you, but I'm worried about a lot of other companies who are really struggling. He had another friend who is even into real estate, but the guy is struggling. And I told him, I said, well, the reason why I'm not struggling like this, your friend, is that I didn't take loan from the Nigerian bank. Because if I had done that, they would have messed me up. And that's what's happening to your friend as well. And he said, wow. And he's based in the US. And he said, it's so unfortunate because in the US, when you take a loan, your company is different from you. If the business fails, you can declare bankruptcy and move on. We look at these big companies, Fubu, Tesla, and it's easy for us to praise them. Fubu, for example, went bankrupt 3 times. Damian John started Fubu 3 times. First time was legal, the other time was money, 3 times. In other words, he was able to go to the court and say, well, liability asset, bye bye, and then start all over again. Nobody arrested him like they do in Nigeria. You owe any bank, they are going to not just arrest you, they will drag your name instead of separating you from the business. When you look at Elon Musk, it was just few days to bankruptcy with Tesla, even during Donald Trump. The government had to bail him out. You see how we sometimes drag people like Dangote over the loan they took. I mean, so even in terms of framework by African governments, things have to change because when you do things like this, then everybody is scared to do business. I said, I don't want to be dragged like that. I don't want to go through all of that. I'm better off just looking for a job and just sticking to a job. And I don't want to be no partner to nobody. I don't even want my name to be on the company so that if it goes bad and they're looking for the guy, they don't call me. So these are things that I hope government look into so that more people are confident to go into entrepreneurship and are willing to take the risk because that's why America works. They
Mm,
encourage you to take the risk. They encourage you to come take the loan. They encourage you to run the business. They will encourage you if you fail in the business. In fact, if you are too big, they call you too big to fail, and government will put in their money and bail you out.
mm. Wow. And that's so true, and that's why, because I think you kind of also answered or spoke to I thought a question I would have asked, because the aspect of taking risk, if somebody would say, what does that really mean? Especially knowing that I don't have too much of the money, I have a little bit, and all that. So what does taking risk mean? Especially from what context? Is it from African context or from diaspora context? What does that mean to take a risk? You know, so, but at least based on some of the things that you've mentioned, you've touched all that aspect of, of course, um, not doing it alone, working with other people, and also being able to, not being afraid to fail, because that's part of what taking risk is. Because people are afraid to fail. So if you're not afraid to fail, peradventure you don't fail. Because I always say that anything, we are spirits having human experience. We are not humans having a spiritual experience. It's a spiritual thing. And so, from the spiritual context, if you already see yourself a failure or
Mhm.
fear gets into the space of the spirit, you are inviting that to yourself. Whether or not people believe it, it's not about positive thinking and all that. It's the fact that we have spirits, uh, you know, and the space we are is a spiritual space.
Mhm.
So it's the spiritual realm that controls the physical things that we do. So, to that effect, the idea of starting anything starts from you believing that you're successful as the vision had come into your spirit. You
Mhm.
talk about Jeff right now and talk about so many other people, people didn't believe them. So many
Yeah.
success stories, Apple and Microsoft and so many
Yeah.
other people. It was difficult.
Yeah.
But guess what? Because they keep seeing something that they believed in, and today is a different story.
Yeah.
So, but it's a spiritual space. So thank you for really explaining that and helping us.
Let me just add to it that it's unfortunate that those in diaspora haven't, stretched that concept of taking risk. I think a lot of Africans get into the diaspora and then carry the fear they had in Africa to those parts of the world.
Mm, so
Even
true.
when the environment is far more enabling, but we're still stuck with I don't want to take a loan. I don't want to, because for example, the same me that didn't take loan in Nigeria was setting up a fund of $200 million in the US. So, which is practically a loan of some sort.
Mm,
So I'm more ambitious when I'm in diaspora, and I have that appetite. I want to encourage, particular members of the African Union 6 region that many of us migrated, we left Africa for better opportunities. Do not remain in the box now that you're in places where you could stretch, you could take more risk now. I understand the pressure to pay your rent, to pay your bills, but you can partner more, in this part of the world because the law works. So it's not a case where you say, oh, but I was coming from Africa, rule of law. The law works where you are, and there's so much opportunity. I want to see African members of the African Union 6 region not only just come back and invest back in Africa. I want to hear that the biggest real estate developer in Canada is an African of African descent. I want to hear that the biggest, because that's how China is doing it, right? As I speak to you now, the largest, what's it called? Like an app, whether it's loan app, whether moving funds, all this penetration when it comes to payment is owned by China in Nigeria, OPay,
Yeah.
right? OPay is owned by China, and it was an intentional decision. And several sectors like that, they come in, they see the opportunity, they take it. I see Indians do that as well. Even in Dubai, a lot of the biggest developers in Dubai are of Indian, origin, even though some of them have now been given citizenship in Dubai. And I think that's part of what we're missing, those of us in diaspora, that we so don't go for exceptional success, because again, I've said this over and over again, the cure for racism is to end poverty among Black people,
Yeah.
right? Many people didn't understand why the movie Wakanda, Black Panther, was important for us as a people, because it was a symbol. Superman was white skin, Spider-Man was white skin, and so even as a kid, you are being programmed that if you are white skin, then you can be a superhero. And so having Black Panther that had a black skin and was a superhero made a lot of sense. The same thing we need to know, that having people who are Black owning big businesses in diaspora is how we can take things to the next level. It has an emotional, a psychological implication, even for our people, right? So don't just be in diaspora and be average. You must be intentional to say, if I'm living in the US, I'm going to be the biggest that there is. If I'm in Canada and I decide to do tech, I'm going to be the biggest tech guy, right? Not the biggest Black tech guy.
Sorry, sir. Repeat that. Don't be in the diaspora and do what?
Don't be in diaspora and be mediocre, right? We decide to dominate and be the biggest, right? The biggest. I mean, it has to be that intentional. That I want to be the biggest. I don't want to be the biggest Black, developer, or the biggest Black, tech guy, or the biggest Black. I want to be the biggest. Simple. Period. You don't need to add Black or white to it. Biggest, right? So, and I think we have to begin to see entrepreneurship from that angle. We have to see life from that angle. We have to see business from that angle. And we have to know that you are representing us when you're in the diaspora. Our signature is on you. Your success is our collective success. Your failure is our collective failure. And you could see that happen a lot, even when it comes to soccer. Have you noticed that when the French football team wins, they call them the French team, but when they fail, they call them the African French, the African French team. And even individual players, even in leagues like Premiership, right? if an African player is doing well and he scores so much, they say, oh, the British, footballer. But the day he gets a red card, they say the Nigerian or African British born. Suddenly they drag the African to it. So
I'm telling you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, that's so true, and I think thank you for that because one of the questions that I was gonna ask is what kind of support are you willing to give the diaspora community, especially the sixth region? So and so what kind of support is there from you and from your company? And a question also that came about is because a lot of people are asking, okay, people of African descent are not just those who are born in the continent. They also either African Americans born in the Caribbean and other places, and they have an interest in investing in Africa or owning a property. And the question is, do they have to be a citizen first before they can do that? Or how does that play out in owning a property in Africa, especially through your company? So how does that define? So if I'm not a Nigerian, of based on anywhere that your business it's happening and I want to invest, how does that happen?
beautiful. So, and that's a very good question. Well, for me, I'm available for the African Union 6 region. I'm committed to being part of the Egypt event and some other events where you have something coming up in December. As long as we can work out the logistics, I'm definitely going to be there in terms of the visa and all that. Also, is that I'm willing to work with us to see how like I know we're talking about Cameroon, we're talking about Uganda to see what we can do. One of the things I'm also willing to do is to have work with our company, though of course this has to go through management formally, is to cut out some part of some of our estates to be like the African Sixth Region Embassy,
Wow.
where it is not just a physical embassy, it's also a place where you can own your house. It's like, let's assume a 20, 30, 50 acre cutout that this is only going to be members of African Union 6 region, and they can have their houses together, and that community of, people who understand that they were not born here or they didn't grow up here, and so there's that solidarity in there. So we're willing to have those kind of things so that it then becomes you guys marketing that to your people, and then you can plan how you want to develop that entire ecosystem for your people. So these are things I'm very sure we can work out with our management, and to see how we can make that so that a lot of the people can have access to real assets. In terms of whether you're a citizen or not, it depends on the country. So in Nigeria, for example, you can't own a property as a non-citizen of Nigeria. Usually people try to do it through their company, so they register their company, and then the property is in the name of the company. They may still be the only owner of the company. But even without, there's a gray area there in Nigeria in terms of the law. But the beauty is that if you're buying from a real estate company like us, you don't have that issue, in the sense that we are the direct people dealing with the government because we're building estates, right? So when you buy under us, that then protects you and covers you in terms of even where the gray areas of whether can an African or whatever not own. Same thing we're trying to replicate in other parts because, for example, in Kenya, in Uganda, there's that law where if you're not a native, you can't own, even if you set up a company, you can't own 100%. So we're doing, and that's why the GVest, concept worked with the cooperative, digital cooperative thing. So we're setting up our other African companies with partnership and investment from people in those places,
Okay.
right? So that doesn't give the issue of, oh, Dr. Stephen is a Nigerian, and is he so our equity is just 30-40%, and the concept, the idea is our designs, and that also does the same thing as well, because the major ownership that deals directly with government already has the proper legitimate right to acquire those properties. Anybody then buying under us is covered, even if they are not citizens, or and all of that. So those are the concepts that we're able to come up with. So that again, and again, this speaks more even to this argument of creating that eco system, or estates, or republic, or embassy for African Union 6 region. Because with this now, a lot of the African Union 6 region members who may not have been born in Africa, or don't even have citizenship of any African country, can easily then own property, at least under the arrangements we're having with you guys.
Wow, thank you so very much. That's amazing. I mean, we really welcome that and appreciate those ideas, and I think we can discuss more about it. And I think this kind of forum is so important that we can have this kind of more conversation and more engagement. Now, on the 9th of September, we are having the Africa Union Day, which you've been also invited to be in a panel. Because African Union is celebrating its 60th anniversary, and I just mentioned when we started that the diaspora had been the key to our independence across Africa, and we continue, even the remittances and so many things about that. And so on the 9th of September, we're doing the African Union this, and also on the 16th of December, which you also talked about, we are celebrating the gala in Toronto, which we are looking forward to having a lot of your partner stakeholders and the global community to be part of that, to celebrate the 60th anniversary. Now we have hosted by Afrexim Bank and the African Union, the intra-Africa trade that will be happening in Cairo from the 9th to the 15th. Which you also have also shown interest that you want to. So speaking of all that, in rounding up as a last word of message, what is your message to the African Union leadership? What's your message to the opportunities? The 60 years have come. What do you see about where we're going? I mean, September 9 marks. I mean, Africa Freedom Day is May 25th, which we do every year. Which we celebrated 16th anniversary when the heads of state came together. But African Union changed from OAU, Organization of African Unity, to African Union, September 9, 1999, and became effective in 2000. And so that's why we mark African Union Day. Now, we also have the Africa CARICOM Summit, which happened on 2021, September 7th, now celebrating those two things, bringing the CARICOM or the Caribbean community in and Africa as one for us collective combined social economic development. So what is your message as we are celebrating 60th anniversary and all these events that are coming up? What are your thoughts around that, and what's your last word as you encourage our community and the global Africa family?
Well, once again, thank you for having me, and this has been a very robust conversation. I think we should do more of that. I look forward to the one in September. And yes, thank you, Caroline, for even typing that 9th of September event. I look forward to that. My final advice is that we really, as African Union, begin to first advice would be to government. I mean, we've seen the rate of coup, and it's telling us something. There is 70% of the young people in Africa across all countries are below the age of 25. They've never, in fact, many of them are just seeing coup for the first time. They've never seen military. And but what they know is that they are not comfortable with the way things are going. They are frustrated, whether they're in Africa, even the ones in diaspora are so frustrated because a lot of people travel to diaspora and even feel lost because many are not able to pursue. It's like they move to diaspora, their vision is dead, and it's just from paycheck to paycheck. So you see people really frustrated, and this is one of the reasons why some of those who lead a lot of online agitation back in Africa are in diaspora. If you see some of those tribal agitations and all of that, they're in diaspora. And it speaks to the fact that left to them, they want to be back at home. But they want to be back at home being kings and queens, and they want to be back to Africa that works. So it's important for government to know that things are changing. There's a wind blowing. And the wind is a wind that people are saying you have to deliver. You have to perform. If you're going to be a leader, it's not just talk. There has to be result on ground. You have to change, the people's plight. And I think for the other part of the conversation is then to you and I, who might not be in government, who are private citizens, it's also the fact that America is the richest country in the world, not because it is the largest in population, not because it's the largest in size, but because it houses the richest people in the world. And so if Africa is going to be, really, really work, we have to raise successful entrepreneurs. The era of hating people just because they are rich, the era of thinking poverty is synonymous to sainthood has to die, right? We have to know that for any good thing to happen in Africa, people have to be rich, and it's okay for them to be rich as long as it's legitimate. And it's okay for them to be rich and not necessarily give you money because they're already adding value by creating jobs, by their businesses adding value to the system, right? The tax they pay. And so we need to rise up to our best potential and open more businesses. And those of us who don't want to open businesses, be willing to partner, be willing to be entrepreneurs in other people's business and watch it grow. And hope that one day, I handed over our company to 7 new CEOs. And some people who probably didn't give their best, thinking that I'm going to be CEO for life, are shocked to watch those that used to be under them now as CEOs because they had left the company. And the people that were now made CEOs, I saw some reaching out to me to say, "Are you sure you chose right?" I'm like, but that's the person available. God doesn't use the qualifier. He qualified the available. So it's important to know that even if you don't feel like owning a business, support the business you work for. Be loyal, be faithful. Who knows? One day you may just run that company. We saw what happened with Apple. If Tim Cook wasn't loyal, he wasn't going to run Apple today. Same thing is happening with Alibaba. A young man took a job cut, move his family from where they used to be to work with Alibaba, right? And he's the one running the company now because Jack Ma has been out for a while, right? He was an investment banker, brought in most of the money for them in Alibaba. And the faithfulness has paid off today. Not just in that he's wealthy now and the company is doing well, but that he even now runs the company. So I'll wrap up there because I had on there engagement for 8. Thank you for coming
Thank you.
and putting this together. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So looking forward to continue the engagement and the conversation. And I want to believe that all our viewers and listeners have enjoyed the time, and we look forward to doing more of this. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
And
so I'm going to be adding you as a collaborator. So in 1 minute's time, you can just check the page. It will show you the opportunity to accept. So once you accept it, the video will also show on your page as well as mine.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that. So,
Thank you.
all the best. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And we look forward to having you, if we don't have any session before the night, seeing you on the night of September,
Yes.
1 p.m. Eastern Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be around, I think, 6 o'clock, West African time. So, thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you very
Thank
much. I appreciate it.